Okay, in today's video I will be talking about my computer. This computer I built back in, actually I didn't build it, I paid somebody to put it together for me back in, this was around March of 2015. And this is a motherboard that it uses a Asus Z97-Pro motherboard, as you can see here. And I'll tell you what the specs are for the machine. This computer is about 9 years old, 9 years and 7 months old, almost 10 years. And of course I have replaced this with another computer. Right now my main computer is now a Intel i7 13700KF, and it has a GeForce RTX 3060 12GB graphics card in it, and it uses DDR5 memory. But for this computer I have an i7 4790K, which is rated at 4 GHz. I think it's higher with turbo. It's 4.4 maybe with turbo. It's a socket 1150. The GPU is a MSI GeForce GTX 10700 8GB PCIe Express video card. The RAM that I have is a G-Skill Aries 32GB DDR3 PC 19200. I think it's 240 pin. I have 4 memory modules at 8 GB apiece. The operating system was originally, back in 2015, it was Windows 8. However, I have upgraded it to Windows 10 Pro, and I upgraded it a couple of years ago to Windows 11 Pro. And I have for the DVR I have an Elgato Gamer HD, which I'm using right now to record this video on this computer. The storage devices I have upgraded it many times throughout the years, but right now I have a Western Digital Blue SN550 500GB M.2 NVMe SSD in it, which goes into the M.2 NVMe slot on the motherboard itself. It's located right here, as you can see. That's where you could put the M.2 NVMe. However, when I first got it, it did not have support M.2 NVMe. It only supported M.2. So after I upgraded the BIOS, now I have M.2 NVMe support, which means I could use a PCIe adapter to get full M.2 NVMe speeds. So this is a 3.0 PCI Express 3.0 X16 port. This is also a PCIe Express 3.0 X16 port. Two of these are. This one is not. I think this one is a PCIe 2.0 by 16, which has a maximum bandwidth of maybe I think it's 2 GB. The maximum bandwidth of this is 1 GB per lane, so 4 lane. So if you put an M.2 NVMe in here, it would only use 4 lanes, so it would be about 4 GB. And these are the storage devices I have. I have a Western Digital, Fancyong S501512 GB M.2 NVMe. This one does not have a second M.2 NVMe slot. However, I was able to use a adapter card like this to put my M.2 NVMe to use it, which I'm using. I also have two 2.5-inch SATA 3 SSDs. One is a Samsung Evo 840, which I bought back in 2015, and I put my operating system on there, but now I put the operating system on this M.2 NVMe instead. And I added a Hynix 500GB SATA 3 SSD as well. When I got it, I added these two hard drives. It's a Seagate Barracuda 3 terabyte SATA 3 hard drive, a Seagate Barracuda 1 terabyte SATA 3 hard drive, 3.5 inch, and I added 2 Western Digital Blue 1 terabyte SATA 3 3.5 inch hard drives in the preceding years. And the case I have for it is a Corsair C70, which you see here. This is what I originally had the computer built with back in 2015, and the power supply that they put in there for me was 850 watt. I'm not sure what brand it is. Maybe it's EVGA. It's a modular 850 watt ATX power supply. So I have upgraded this computer a lot throughout the years, and when I first got the computer, it came with a PNY GeForce GTX 970 4GB video card. However, I did upgrade it over the years. The GPU in this thing is a MSI GeForce GTX 1070 8GB. When I upgraded it from a GTX 970, I did put in a RTX 3060. However, I took that out of this computer and put it into my new computer. New computers, which is a Intel i7 10700KF, and I have another one which is Intel 13700KF. Both of them have GeForce RTX 3060s in them. So this one I took out. I took the GeForce RTX 3060 out of this and put it into my Intel i7 13700KF. And then I took another video card out of another computer and put this GeForce GTX 1070 8GB in it. So it was kind of like a downgrade. So this is how I, like I said, mounted my M.2 NVMe. Second one, you could actually boot from this if you want, but I'm using this one to boot my operating system from. So this one is not fast. This one is only rated at, I think it's M.2 NVMe 2.0 by, no, I think it's 3.0 by 2 lanes, so that's about 1 GB. So that's what I'm getting for the read and write speed, about 850 megabytes per second, something like that. So if you still have a computer like this, if you're still using this motherboard, I think you could keep this for longer than 10 years. For me, it's 9 years, and I recently replaced it, and this was replaced. I'm still using this computer for other things like video editing and stuff like that, and for work. But however, this is no longer my main computer. My main computer is i7 13700KF. That's my main computer. This is just something I use as like a server, workstation, or for video editing and stuff like that. But it's still used, and it's still a pretty capable computer. I could run some of the latest games like Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate. I was able to run that decently with this graphics card, which is a GeForce GTX 1070. Perfectly capable. I would say this is you could play a lot of modern games with this and you wouldn't have a problem. If you upgrade the graphics card, you could upgrade the graphics card to GeForce RTX 4070, GeForce RTX 4080, 4090, or whatever. I definitely can, because I have enough because my power supply is big enough. If you don't, then you may have to upgrade your power supply. You may have to do that. So I have, let's see how many, 8 storage devices in this thing. I also have a Blu-ray player on this thing as well, so I could watch Blu-ray movies. So this is a pretty capable machine. I think it will be good past 10 years. You would probably be, if you're just using it for probably non-gaming tasks, you could probably use it, who knows, maybe 15 years. I'm still using my i5 3570K as my work computer, and this computer I put that together back in early 2013, and it's still being used today. But I definitely can't play games with it because doesn't have a powerful enough processor or a graphics card to do that. But definitely I could do everything, like streaming videos, watching videos on YouTube, social media, doing email, doing e-commerce, e-shopping, e-commerce, online banking, or anything else. I could use that computer for everything else, and that computer is 11 years old and it's still active. That computer has 24 gigabytes of RAM, DDR3, has a GeForce GTX 770 2GB graphics adapter, and it could pretty much do everything else except for gaming. And this computer is still capable. I paid someone $2,300 to put this thing together, and I think I got my money's worth out of it. You know, it's better than buying one of those computers like HP or whatever, which have like which don't have a lot of features. They may be cheap, but they don't last very long. They become obsolete within, or break within 2 to 3 years. But this thing, as it stands, if average lifespan of a corporate computer that you buy from a company like HP or whatever is 2 to 3 years, this one is 3.15 to 4.8 times more in terms of what you get for the value. It would last longer. It was upgradable. A lot of these computers that you buy from these big corporate brands like HP, they're not really upgradable, you know. They just aren't upgradable. That's one of the issues. This one was upgradable, so I was able to upgrade the graphics card. I was able to put in a M.2 NVMe, even though this thing was never designed to use M.2 NVMe. And I don't think M.2 NVMe was even a thing back in 2015. So I just had to update the BIOS, and now I'm able to use M.2 NVMe. And I did test some M.2 NVMe's with this motherboard, like it was a Fancyong S500 Pro 1TB M.2 NVMe, and I was able to get about 3 gigabytes per second using the adapter and putting it into this slot, which is comparable to modern computers of today. But you can't use anything faster than PCIe 3.0 by 4. But on my new computer, I have a PCIe 4.0 by 16 slots. You know, so it's much faster. So for PCIe 2.0, that's 500 megabytes per second per lane. For PCIe 3.0, I think that's 1 gigabyte per second per lane. And for PCIe 4.0, that is 2 gigabytes per lane. So it's double each generation, as you can see. And I put, for my M.2 NVMe, I put it with this thing, with this heatsink fan, so it stays relatively cool. And if you want to add more storage devices, on this case I could definitely add more. So since this is such a big case, I could add a lot of, say, 3.5-inch hard drives and 2.5-inch hard drives as well. I can add a PCIe SATA card to add additional SATA 3 slots by just plugging it into one of these PCIe X1 slots on my motherboard, and I have 4 of them. I have 2 PCI Express 3.0 by 16 slots, 1, 2, and I have 1 PCI Express 2.0 by 16 slots. There's a lot of PCI slots here which I can use. I could also get a PCIe card adapter. Let me see what that is. Yeah, something like this. This is a PC 2.5-inch PCI mounting bracket. You could put that on the chassis of your PC and put it onto any PCI slot. So you could add additional 2.5-inch SSDs on one of these racks on your case. You could also get a 5.25-inch to 3.5-inch bay. Something like this, you could put this into your case, into your 5.25-inch bay, and put in a 3.5-inch hard drive as well. You could do that. Or you could get something like this, an IC dock. This enables you to put 2.5-inch SSDs in it, and 1 3.5-inch in a 5.25-inch bay on your case, and I have 3 such bays on my case. So I could definitely add more storage devices and turn this into a server if I wanted to. So that's what I want to share with you on this computer. It's still a viable machine. You could still use it. I really thought the upgrade or the new computer that I got this year was pretty unnecessary. I don't think I needed to get a new computer. I could have just kept this longer and didn't have to spend money to do that, but I did, and and I think that was a mistake. But you don't have to make that mistake if you don't have to. If you don't have a lot of money and you can't get a new computer, you could just keep this and upgrade it a little, and you can make it viable, because the economy is pretty tough right now. And I don't think anything is wrong with that if you upgrade this a little bit, and even if you upgrade a graphics card, it would increase the performance quite a bit. If you want to play games and stuff, you don't have to get a whole new computer to do that. Okay, if you have any thoughts, you could leave it in the comment section below. And if you want to know where you can get all these upgrades, I'll leave it in the links in the video descriptions below. Thank you for watching.